And welcome back for another episode, number 93 of Thursdays with Charlie. It's the 24th of March, 2022. And Lent is moving along very quickly. We're into the last half of the season of Lent. Just want to show people have asked, well, how are you doing on Peeps? Or what are you doing for Peeps for Easter? I want to show you that the Peeps Company came out with something brand new this year. It's several packages of Peeps plus a package of Peeps jelly beans. It's probably the largest Peeps selection I have ever seen, and I've already gotten one of those. So it's going to be a good season for Peeps all around, all around. I think of all the Easter candy, I love chocolate, that's a good thing too, and I love jelly beans, that's a good thing too, but Peeps are still the quintessential candy for Easter. Well, I hope everyone is having a good Lent. Certainly we here in the parish are having as good a Lent as we could possibly make. We're trying to do some interesting things, and this past Sunday we had one of the most interesting celebrations that I have been participating in, and that was we had a visit with the relics of St. Padre Pio to our parish. I was even unaware that they were making a tour of this part of our country, but our Knights of Columbus made me aware of that, and under the auspices of the Knights of Columbus, the relics of St. Padre Pio were visiting several parishes in our diocese. And so we applied for it, and this past Sunday at 6 p.m. we had a service honoring the relics of St. Padre Pio. We had over 140 people who came out for the event, and they represented not only the 5 parishes in our area, ourselves, St. Anne's in Needles, St. Margaret Mary's in Bullhead City, Our Lady of the Lake in Lake Havasu City, and St. Mary's in Kingman. We even had the priest from St. Anne's in Needles come up and join us for the celebration. And so it was really beautifully done. They brought several of the relics associated with St. Padre Pio. They gave a beautiful prayer service, including music to the memory of Padre Pio and the relics. And then there was an opportunity for people to not only see the relics, but to go up and touch them, or perhaps touch a prayer card to them to convey that blessing and to remember it. It was very well done, and we look forward to another association with the group and the Knights that did that. In fact, next year they've already offered that they have a series of relics associated with the Passion of Jesus that they would like to bring, and we've already accepted and said we will line up a date next year in 2023 to enjoy being in the presence of those relics during Lent. I looked back, there were 9 parishes in the Diocese of Las Vegas that were blessed with a visit from these relics of Padre Pio, and we were the only rural parish that got into the mix of that, so we were very honored to have been included in that. This coming Sunday, the 27th, we had scheduled a talk on the physiology of the crucifixion by Dr. Stan Casabir. We've been looking forward to that. He's done it for us in the past, but unfortunately earlier this week he got called away due to a medical emergency involving his daughter, and so that talk is canceled this Sunday. So please, if anybody was planning on coming, or you know somebody who was making plans to come for the talk at 4 p.m. this Sunday on the physiology of the crucifixion, that will not take place. It was canceled earlier this week because of a medical emergency involving the Casabir's daughter. So we're unfortunate we will not be able to have that this year. Our Tiger Masses continue at 6 a.m. on Friday mornings, and we've been getting about 50 to 60 people, and so it's going to be a nice group of Tigers. The 4th Tiger Mass is tomorrow, and we look forward to that crowd continuing for the next 3. Our Stations of the Cross have been getting about an equal number of people, between 50 and 60 on the Fridays of Lent, and that's at 6 p.m. on each Friday of Lent. And we hope that many people are finding that a helpful way to observe these 40 days of Lent. we're trying to make available times and events and activities and services that will make this Lent a beautiful one for all concerned. We're working on the schedule for Palm Sunday, Easter, Holy Week, the time between Palm Sunday, the novena to the Divine Mercy that will begin on Good Friday and follow through Easter week until the Sunday after Easter. Hopefully that will all be prepared and you'll be able to see that in the bulletin either this week or next week. We do look forward to these special events that we only do once a year. They're very unique services, they're very beautiful services, and we try to do them up nicely and to make them as available as possible to all of our people in the area. Tomorrow, Friday, March 25th, is the celebration of the Annunciation, the angel Gabriel announcing to Mary that she would be the mother of Jesus. It's a beautiful celebration, and it's exactly, you might note, the 25th of March is exactly 9 months prior to the 25th of December when we celebrate the birth of Jesus. And 9 months is intentional. The Christmas date is very much dependent on the date for celebrating the Annunciation. And so we try to observe both of them and giving Mary a perfect 9-month pregnancy. It's also a day for honoring our ministry and our belief and our Catholic faith in the humanity of the unborn from the moment of conception. We believe that Jesus himself was an unborn child at that point from the moment of conception and was treated with the respect that deserved. Hopefully that will carry through for all unborn children. We will definitely be keeping that in our mind in our prayers. That 9-month separation between the Annunciation and the celebration of Christmas, the birth of Christ, is also observed when we think of the Immaculate Conception of Mary, which we observe on December the 8th, but we celebrate Mary's birthday on September the 8th. And so we give the perfect 9-month of pregnancy there for Mary's mother, Saint Elizabeth. Now, the Annunciation is one of the glorious mysteries of the Rosary. We're all familiar with the fact that there are 3 traditional sets of mysteries in the Rosary and one more modern one that was introduced by Pope John Paul II. And so we have the glorious mysteries of the Rosary, which are part of the traditional ones. We have the sorrowful mysteries, which are connected with the sufferings of Jesus. And we have the joyful mysteries, which are connected with the life of Jesus, especially concerning his birth. Pope John Paul II introduced a series of mysteries known as the Luminous Mysteries, enlightening the teachings of Christ and their effect on the world. That's a more recent one, so there are actually 4 sets of 5 mysteries that we observe. The joyful mysteries of the Rosary are among the most ancient celebrations with the Rosary, and they're all taken out of the Gospel of St. Luke. We can document in Luke's Gospel all 5 of the joyful mysteries. It's interesting, this is year C of the lectionary, and so on most Sundays of this year, we are reading from the Gospel according to St. Luke. Just as a quick refresher, the 5 joyful mysteries of the Rosary. The first is the one we're going to celebrate tomorrow, the Annunciation, that the angel Gabriel announced to Mary 9 months prior to the birth of Jesus that she would conceive and would be the mother of Jesus. The second joyful mystery is the Visitation. Mary visits her cousin Elizabeth, and she goes to her house when both of them are pregnant, Elizabeth pregnant with John the Baptist, and Mary pregnant with Jesus. The third joyful mystery is the birth of Jesus, which we celebrate on December 25th, the Nativity of Jesus. The fourth joyful mystery is the presentation of Jesus in the temple. Mary and Joseph observing the traditional Jewish law of presenting a firstborn male in the temple. And the fifth joyful mystery is the finding of Jesus in the temple. Jesus, about the age of 12, they were in Jerusalem with Mary and Joseph for the celebration of Passover. And as they're visiting in there, Jesus becomes separated from the family, and Mary and Joseph search for him and find him in the temple, speaking with the doctors of the law, asking them questions and answering questions with them as well. The five joyful mysteries are a beautiful part of the Rosary celebration, and one of these mysteries, the Annunciation, we will celebrate tomorrow on Friday. As I mentioned at the weekend masses this past weekend, there was a special accent on this Friday's celebration of the Annunciation, and it goes way, way back. In July 13th of 1917, during the apparitions of Mary at Fatima, Mary appeared several times to three shepherd children, Lucia, Jacinta, and Francisco, in Portugal, at Fatima in Portugal. And part of those apparitions were Mary's statement about doing reparation, praying, and doing things to bring about world peace. And Mary asked that the Pope and the bishops, she asked through the three children that they convey to the Pope and the bishops of the world that they should consecrate Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary to bring about two things: the end of Russia spreading its errors and to bring about world peace. Now, in 1917, communism taking over that part of the world was a relatively new phenomenon, and it was something that Mary was saying, we want to stop Russia from spreading these errors. And so the way she asked was that the children should tell the Pope and the bishops that they should consecrate Russia to her Immaculate Heart, and that would stop Russia from spreading its errors and bring about a period of world peace. Now, in the intervening years between 1917 and now, several popes did something like that, but not exactly that. I imagine there was some question whether it had to be done in a certain way. Mary did not give specific words for doing it, and it was something that was left to the Pope and the bishops to decide. One of the things that people thought was it should be done by the Pope and all the bishops in union with one another at the same time, perhaps even at the same place, if that were possible. But several popes did something like a consecration of Russia. The most notable was on the Feast of the Annunciation on March 25th in 1984, when Pope John Paul II did a consecration of the world to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Now, the consecration of the world obviously included Russia, but it didn't single out Russia as the specific focus of the consecration. So some people felt that, well, the Pope had accomplished it because Russia was included in the world, and some people felt that, well, no, this was not exactly it because Russia was not singled out specifically. In 1989, the Vatican went so far as to interview Sister Lucia. Lucia had grown up and become a cloistered nun, and had interviewed her and said, as one of the visionaries who heard this from the lips of Mary in 1917, did that 1984 action of Pope John Paul II fulfill it? And she said it had. In fact, she even wrote that in a letter, that it had fulfilled the intention of what Mary had requested. Still, there are some people who feel that it was done or it wasn't done, and that back and forth it goes. More recently, in the past several weeks, the bishops of Russia and Ukraine have interceded with the Pope and have asked that the consecration be done in view of the present hostilities between the two nations, the unprovoked attack of Russia on Ukraine. And the Pope has considered it, and we got word this past week that the Pope was going to do it. He was going to make a consecration of Russia and Ukraine to the Immaculate Heart of Mary on the 25th of March, the Feast of the Annunciation, and he would do it at 5 p.m. on the Vatican time, and that he asked all the bishops of the world to unite with him in doing it at the same time. And so for our diocese, the Diocese of Las Vegas, the same time would be 9 a.m. on Friday morning, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. here in our diocese. And so we're going to celebrate that. Now, I was mentioning this earlier this week to a few other people, and someone said, well, what is a consecration? And we don't exactly have the wording that's going to be used, but the word consecration is something like a dedication. It's setting something apart for a specific purpose or a specific attention being given to it. And so when we consecrate an item, we're setting it apart for particular religious usage. When we consecrate the host at Mass or the wine at Mass, we're taking an item and we're setting it apart as a specific thing, the body and blood of Christ in the case of the Mass. When we consecrate a nation, we're dedicating it, we're applying our prayers specifically to that nation. And so this consecration of Russia and the Ukraine to the Immaculate Heart of Mary should probably contain some very specific words of what we're intending. We're still waiting to receive the words from our bishop that are going to be used in our diocese for it, and they'll be modeled on, if not exactly the words, that the Pope intends to use tomorrow at 5 p.m. at the Vatican. The passage that I'd like to mention is back in 1917, Mary, in that request on July 13th, said, "If my requests are heeded," namely the consecration of Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary and prayers for peace and reparation, "Russia will be converted." That's the first of her promises. "And there will be peace. If not, she will spread her errors throughout the world, causing wars and persecutions of the Church. The good will be martyred, the Holy Father will have much to suffer, and various nations will be annihilated." And so that was Mary's words, that if this was not heeded. Pope Francis, last weekend, had an audience, as he does in Rome every weekend for the celebration of the Angelus on Sunday, and he spoke very highly about this coming event on this Friday, and he invited not only the bishops and the priests, but everybody to join with him in making this consecration of Russia and Ukraine to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. In fact, he said, "I invite every community and every one of the faithful to join with me next Friday, March the 25th, the Solemnity of the Annunciation, in making this solemn act of consecration of humanity, especially Russia and the Ukraine, to the Immaculate Heart of Mary." From what he's saying, it seems like it's going to be a very specific consecration. And he goes on, "so that she, the Queen of Peace, may obtain peace for the world." Certainly something we are all hoping for and praying for. The message of Fatima continued. This goes back to July 13th of 1917, and the Pope repeated it in his message. "In the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph. the Holy Father will consecrate Russia to me, and she will be converted, and a period of peace will be granted to the world. So all the way back in 1917, Mary was promising that this consecration will take place and that it will bring about a period of peace to the world. And so, here in the Diocese of Las Vegas, the bishop has invited people to join him at 9 a.m. up in the Cathedral of the Guardian Angel in Las Vegas for this service. It will not be a Mass. It will be a celebration of the consecration. We have invited people to join us tomorrow at 9 a.m. here in our church, St. John the Baptist in Laughlin, as we will celebrate this consecration. And even if you're unable to join us at the cathedral or here in the parish, please feel free to join us in prayer at that time. At the 9 a.m. hour will match up with what the Pope is doing at 5 p.m. Deacon Dan is going to go up to Las Vegas, so our clergy will be represented with the priests and the other deacons and the bishops at the cathedral. Deacon Richard and I will stay here. Of course, we'll have the Tiger Mass at 6 a.m. tomorrow. We'll have our regular 8 a.m. Mass tomorrow. And we'll have this ceremony for the consecration to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, both of Russia and Ukraine. It's not going to be a Mass, so if you want to attend Mass, please come to the Tiger Mass or the 8 a.m., but it will be a celebration of this consecration. We don't know the wording yet. We will receive that hopefully before we start tomorrow morning, but we will make it a Marian devotion. We're obviously going to honor the Feast of the Annunciation. We will probably recite at least a decade of the Rosary. We will probably sing some hymns to Mary that are familiar to all of our people. In our corner of if you look at our church, up in the left-hand corner to the front, there's a statue of Mary that is the statue of Mary at Fatima, and so there are candles there. We will probably ceremonially light one of those candles as a part of our devotion tomorrow. And of course, we will pray for world peace and an end to the active hostilities currently going on in Ukraine. So you are invited to that. Make it a part of your Lenten devotion, whether you join us physically or you join with us in prayer. Pascal is going to join us. And very appropriately, since we're celebrating the Annunciation, we're going to join Ave Maria, Gratia Plena, the beginning words of the Hail Mary. Hail Mary, full of grace. These are the words the angel Gabriel addressed to Mary on the occasion of the Annunciation. Jesus' birth was announced by the message of an angel. Gabriel brought that to Mary. May Gabriel bring us many messages of peace and joy in our world. Please keep going in Lent. I know there's only a few weeks of it left, but it's never too late to start. It's never too late to do something to make this period of 40 days a special opportunity for growing in God's grace, growing to become those people God wants us to become. We pray that you'll do it. We look forward to seeing many of you tomorrow, and for sure we look forward to seeing you all over the weekend. God bless.